252 million years ago, our planet was on the verge of destruction. After the largest extinction event in Earth's history, the world has become a barren wasteland. Landscapes once rich in diversity of life were now devoid of greenery and living things. With limited resources and severe competition, every surviving creature faced a harsh struggle for survival. Battles for food, territory, and partners have become a daily reality. The few survivors were forced to show cunning, dexterity, and ingenuity to overcome all difficulties. 252 million years ago, the Triassic period began, characterized by enormous geological changes. During this period, the fire flows gradually weakened, leaving behind cooled lava that covered an area equal to half of the modern United States. This lava layer was almost 2 miles thick, creating impressive landscapes. Volcanic gas released from the eruptions caused temperatures to soar around the world. This climate shift led to the disappearance of forests and reefs. Evolutionary achievements accumulated over hundreds of millions of years were destroyed, and a new era began on the planet. However, even in such a devastating environment, among the charred ruins, there was a life form that benefited. Her diet consisted of dead organic matter, represented by dead plants and animals. Fungi are amazing organisms that thrived in conditions when the whole world seemed like a graveyard after the apocalypse. While other life forms were disappearing, fungi became the dominant force on the planet. Their ability to decompose organic material and adapt to different environments has allowed them to survive and thrive. However, not all mushrooms survived on the remains of other species. One unassuming creature, a Lystrosaur, found itself in the perfect position to take over the world. Lystrosaurus was an ancient ancestor of mammals and was comparable in size to a pig. His bizarre appearance and habit of digging deep holes and seeking refuge in caves became his salvation when other animals died. Once just a pawn in an evolutionary game, Lystrosaurus was among the lucky few to survive Armageddon. Its survival and success are related to its ability to adapt to new conditions and use available resources. During the mass extinction, almost all vegetation died, which created a difficult situation for finding food. However, Lystrosaurs turned out to be very hardy and adaptive creatures. They could travel long distances, always on the move, in search of roots, tubers, small shoots and shoots that could serve them as food. Hay! But not only Lystrosaurs were able to survive the mass extinction. Life, in fact, was able to recover in a variety of forms. In the absence of competitors and large predators after volcanic eruptions, Lystrosaurs, which previously occupied the lowest level of the food chain, were able to become the dominant species. Their simple but adaptable lifestyle allowed them to achieve amazing success. For many years after the mass extinction, Lystrosaurs made up 3/4 of all vertebrates on land. No other animal has reached such heights. However, their dominance was short-lived. Another species that also survived the mass extinction has begun to rise. This was due to major changes in the structure of our planet, which created new opportunities and advantages for this species. For tens of millions of years, the continents of the Earth slowly moved towards each other, gradually approaching each other. This process led to the emergence of a huge ocean, so vast and limitless that its grandeur is simply immense. On the other side of the planet, on the opposite side of this ocean, a huge and monolithic landmass formed, which became known as Pangaea, a supercontinent that united all the then existing Earth masses. It was a unique and unsurpassed phenomenon that allowed researchers and scientists to better understand the geological history of our planet. However, the drought that formed on Pangaea, which began in the previous era, became even more severe and irreconcilable. The scorching heat and abnormally high temperatures, reaching 60 degrees Celsius, only made the situation worse. In such conditions, sandstorms raged everywhere, and dunes, reaching heights of more than half a mile, rose into the sky. Thus, the most grandiose and hostile desert for life appeared in the history of our planet. Its size was astonishing, and its landscape was devoid of greenery and living organisms. This place became a symbol of the harshness and difficult conditions that living beings of that time had to face. On the edge of this lifeless desert, against all odds, there is a group of surviving animals that continue to thrive and dominate in these difficult conditions. It takes place in the Atacama, a desert located in South America. Since the Triassic period, this desert has stretched across these lands. Some areas here have not had rain for decades. However, among these unsuitable conditions for life, there are animals that are comfortable here. We are talking about lizards, reptiles adapted to dry desert environments. Their tough, scaly skin prevents dehydration under the scorching sun, but instead, the sun's rays energize their bodies. Their cold blood heats up, allowing them to reach incredible speeds. However, even for these heat-tolerant reptiles, it is important to quench their thirst. Water seeps through the ground, but unfortunately these bodies of water are almost as salty as the Dead Sea. A couple of sips of such water will inevitably lead to death. So these lizards find water in an unexpected source: insects whose ancestors also survived Armageddon. After the mass extinction, the number of insects decreased, but some still survived. Modern shore flies have become experts at processing salt, desalinizing water, and becoming ideal water reservoirs for lizards. However, the challenge is to catch these insects. With the coast fly hunt finally looking up, there's a new problem on the horizon. The places where you can catch these flies are very popular, and local inhabitants do not like to share their resources. But this territory belongs to another lizard, and this can lead to unexpected turns of events. Lizards. These ancient reptiles were perfectly adapted to the harsh conditions of desert landscapes and had incredible strength and endurance. However, among them there was one special lizard that stood out for its unusual qualities. This lizard experienced a constant thirst that tormented its soul. The thirst was so strong that she decided to fight it in a fight, albeit a short one. This was a real challenge for the lizard, since its ancestors were much larger and had much greater strength. However, this little lizard was full of determination and unusual tenacity. In an amazing slow-motion dance of evolution, 248 million years ago, the land world once again felt the touch of the magic of change. After 4 million years of silence, amid the Permian extinction, Lystrosaurs, the majestic and powerful representatives of their time, once again took over. Fate brought them to a dry and almost empty world, where they became the architects of their own destiny. Lystrosaurs, being the ancestors of mammals, were crowned with success and abundance. Life in their kingdom was incomparably beautiful, filled with resources and opportunities that they skillfully used. A long time passed, and these creators of their era knew no threats from either competitors or predators. They transformed the land into their paradise, where every new day was a gift of abundant prosperity. However, as often happens when everything seems perfect, the planet has awakened again. The Earth was coming back to life, and with it came changing challenges. Some reptiles, rapidly growing in size, rose above the rest, creating a new layer in the hierarchy of nature. These giants became known as erythrosuchids, the embodiment of power and greatness. Giants, vying with listersaurs for their place in the world, brought an influx of new challenges and opportunities. And at this moment in the slow symphony of evolution, a new chord sounded, a harbinger of a new chapter in the history of life on Earth. Reaching a length of nearly 10 feet, the erythrosuchid stood as the undisputed ruler of its era, the largest predator created by evolution. Such size made it a fearsome member of the reptilian world, and its deadly characteristics terrified the listersaur herds that had previously enjoyed their unchallenged status in the food chain. Erythrosuchids, like a ghost, invaded herds of listersaurs, which were previously considered easy prey. These giants of the herbivorous world were defenseless against a new, merciless species of reptile. But the herds did not realize the threat, which made them like chickens in a hen house before the fox came. Erythrosuchids could kill more than they needed to satisfy their appetite, turning listersaurs into the unsuspecting dodos of their era. The resemblance to a fox in a hen house was no coincidence, since the erythrosuchid was a master of cunning hunting strategies. He managed his prey in such a way that swarms of listersaurs did not even have time to realize the threat before they became his victims. Listersaurus, which previously held the crown in the land kingdom, became powerless against this new predator. With the advent of erythrosuchid, the era of reptiles began, which became an epic struggle for survival and dominance on the planet. New predators and competitors ended the complete dominance of listersaurs and catalyzed extinction, after which the evolutionary stage for mammals deprived of their previous dominance took effect. This was a turning point in which the age of reptiles took control of the planet, ushering in new forms of life and changes in the natural world. Over millions of years of evolution, reptiles have undergone incredible changes to adapt to constant changes in their environment. And today, when we look at the diversity of these creatures, it becomes clear that not all of them retain the menacing appearance of their distant ancestors. More than 10,000 species of reptiles inhabit our planet, and each has unique survival features. Over time, with climate and landscape changes, reptiles were forced to adapt to new conditions. The densely populated world required from them not only strength, but also the ability to hide in the environment. The tough, scaly skin that once helped them conquer the deserts of Pangaea remains the key to their successful adaptation. However, not all reptiles decide to rely solely on strength and impressive appearance. Some have become masters of camouflage with their skin, blending in with their surroundings. Others, on the contrary, use their skin to repel attackers. Bright colors and unusual patterns serve as a warning, "Don't touch me." This is a kind of defense mechanism that prevents possible attacks from predators. However, even with such protective measures, sometimes reptiles must resort to more drastic survival strategies. Let's remember the red-throated anole from Costa Rica, which acquired a unique survival technique. When he exhales, a diving bell forms, allowing him to hide underwater and avoid danger. This is a prime example of how reptiles continue to amaze us with their unusual adaptations. Modern reptiles have learned to live in the shadows and camouflage themselves, turning into invisible inhabitants of nature. Despite their dominant role in antiquity, today's reptiles display amazing diversity and survival adaptability. In the mysterious jungles of the Asian island, where dense foliage hides ancient secrets and mysteries, buffaloes live. They are always on alert, fearing a potential threat from the rulers of this mysterious paradise. A certain innate vigilance flickers in their gaze, a legacy of distant ancestors, for whom survival in this picturesque but dangerous world was the most important task. But among these majestic creatures, looking like living symbols of perseverance and strength, the buffalo calves walk, still completely inexperienced and naive. Their eyes are full of curiosity and trust, and every step is a gentle touch to the reality that they have to master. In this world, where even the grass can hide a trick, young buffaloes begin their journey relying on the care and guardianship of their elders. But nature does not spare the youngest and inexperienced. In this masterly ballet of survival, where each player plays for his place in the sun, he meets a monitor lizard, a dexterous and cunning hunter. Having lost its prey, the monitor lizard does not give up trying, steadfastly watching over the herd of buffaloes. Its scales gleam like weapons, and its jaws conceal a formidable weapon of venom that is secreted from glands that causes even the most resilient prey to falter. Anyone who falls victim to a monitor lizard feels a burning pain from the bite, but what's worse is what happens inside. The venom blocks blood clotting, creating a deadly combination. Blood pressure drops, and the victim literally loses strength. This cunning weapon of the monitor lizard leads to an inevitable fatal outcome, causing the buffaloes to become even more wary, aware of the intricacies of the game of survival in this ancient paradise. In the era of the dominance of reptiles and mammals, fighting for their place in the sun, reptiles behaved like masters, smugly walking around their territory. But perhaps the most amazing chapter of this ancient script of nature is the period when some of the representatives of the reptilian world decided to change their fate and return into the ocean, a place that their distant ancestors once left. These are turtles. Turtles were ahead of their time, anticipating inevitable changes in land and water. Increasing competition on land and perhaps more favorable conditions in the water have become the impetus for turtles to migrate to the ocean. Today they are inhabitants of all oceans, with the exception of the coldest waters. However, despite their predilection for aquatic life, adult females still have to return to land once a year. This time is intended to lay eggs and continue the cycle of life. Beyond the waves, along the shores of the Great Barrier Reef, a spectacular spectacle unfolds with thousands of turtles. This grandiose event is one of the greatest spectacles in nature, which has been repeated for millions of years. At first glance, the return to land may seem to disrupt the image of the turtle's new home environment. However, this wise decision contains a deep knowledge of the laws of nature. There is safety in numbers. By gathering in such large aggregations, turtles create an incredibly strong security effect. Numerous individuals form a single frontline camp, providing protection and support for each of them. This becomes a barrier against predators, as well as a guarantee that even some of the offspring will survive until they themselves can join this amazing, centuries-long journey to sea and return to land. Turtles first appeared in the Triassic period, but by the time they conquered the seas, the ocean had become home to deadly predators. 50 million years ago, in an era when the Earth was home to an incredible diversity of life, a plesiosaur existed. This 25-foot giant lives in the sea. This magnificent creature was a reptile, but unlike its land-based relatives, it preferred to spend its entire life in the ocean. The plesiosaur, with its powerful flippers and long neck, was the limit of marine reptile evolution. However, despite its impressive size, it faced continuous difficulties in finding food. At sea, resources were vast, but even for a giant like a plesiosaur, eating all the prey was an impossible task. And this is where turtles, those ancient keepers of the ocean's secrets, come into play. By gathering in huge groups, they create a collective shield that ensures their survival in much larger numbers than a lone plesiosaur could afford. This security strategy holds the key to their procreation. But even for turtles, returning to their roots, to the beaches where they were once born, is a necessity. This is where they look for the perfect place to lay their eggs. After almost 2 months after careful efforts, the females find a satisfactory place where they bury their eggs in the sand. Future heritage of antiquity. After this time, when the sea has regained its mystery and silence, the baby turtles emerge into the light. They are instinctively drawn to the ocean, beckoning with its depth and mysteries. On this path to the water, many dangers await them: predatory fish, birds, and other marine life. In ancient times, long before the first feathers adorned the bodies of birds, a group of reptiles flourished on Earth that took a sensational step in evolution: the pterosaurs. These majestic creatures, possessing wings and powerful bodies, became full-fledged masters of the skies, soaring upward and leaving their ground-based relatives far behind. Before this epoch-making moment in the history of life on Earth, birds were not yet on the list of rulers of the heavens. Pterosaurs, with their striking silhouettes accentuated by their enormous wings, became consummate masters of the skies, carving out aerial dances and leaving even the most agile birds in the shadows. Their appearance made life on the surface of the Earth uneasy, and even such durable creatures as turtles turned out to be powerless against the rapid attacks of pterosaurs. In defense of their lives, the turtles were forced to crawl forward, ignoring the danger, hoping only for the moment when the predator's attention would switch to other prey. With each successful maneuver, the turtles approached the water, their last refuge. However, even here, in the ocean, there was danger. Pterosaurs kept an eye on their prey no matter what, creating an intense struggle for survival in the aquatic space. Only after reaching the depths could the turtle get rid of the impending threat by hiding under the waves, where pterosaurs could not penetrate. These ancient reptiles ruled high in the skies and deep under the sea, establishing their dominance in the world. However, despite their unsurpassed nature, pterosaurs and their underwater relatives, plesiosaurs, will eventually give way to evolution and become extinct. All but one. Nile crocodile, the last representative of that glorious era of reptiles to survive to this day. A symbol of greatness that has survived millennia and represents survival in the restless flow of time. For 200 million years, the creature, which boasts impeccable skill in stalking its prey, has dominated its environment, leaving all rivals far behind. This master imitator, the Nile crocodile, has unique skills that have lasted millions of years, proving his unrivaled effectiveness. Under the scorching sun, the wildebeest, unaware of the hidden danger, bend down to quench their thirst. And at that moment, the master of sneaking missed his prey. However, the Nile crocodile knows that the wildebeest will return, as they always do. He quietly sinks diving under the water, holding his breath for almost 1 hour to be invisible to the wildebeest hiding in the tall grass. Crocodiles, the heirs of ancient reptiles, have perfectly mastered the technique of slowing down life processes. Over millions of years, they have perfected this skill, capable of slowing the heartbeat to 2 beats per minute and suspending almost all vital functions. Thus, the crocodile remains motionless, like a stone, underwater, waiting for the moment. But suddenly, in the blink of an eye, there is a transition from inaction to explosive energy. The crocodile develops the necessary speed and strength to propel its 16-foot-long body upward out of the water. This happens on an empty stomach and in one breath. The technique that reptiles excelled at millions of years ago remains just as successful today. Modern crocodiles, those embodiments of survival and efficiency, still dominate their habitat. However, despite their superiority, their numbers have diminished as evolution in the 3 periods has made its mark on the development of living beings. The Nile crocodile remains the last witness of ancient times, a living master of the stock, able to survive in a world where even the most ancient predators are on the brink of extinction. 234 million years ago, in the deep antiquity of the Earth, the planet experienced remarkable changes caused by violent volcanic eruptions. These violent processes of nature gave rise to another wave of global warming, which became a prelude to the fantastic transformations that Pangaea was to undergo. Hundreds of volcanoes, emitting their lava flows, became raised swords, warming the climate. Under the influence of this gigantic natural dance, the waters of the seas and oceans began to evaporate, creating majestic monsoon flows in the northern part of Pangaea. Moisture-laden winds surged over the 10,000-foot mountain range, and worldwide rain fell upon the earth, accompanied by thunderstorms that could be heard across the entire surface of the planet. It was a biblical flood, not the water of which inundated the entire planet, but the rains, softened by moist winds and caused by geological movements, affected every corner of Pangaea. The rains continued unabated for over 1 million years, creating incredible changes in the landscape. The northern streams, carrying water from the high mountains, became the bearers of change. These flows switched rivers and created new waterways, completely changing the face of the earth. As a result of the rains and currents, the arid wastelands that once lay in the harsh abode of Pangaea were plunged into history. Thanks to these water flows and alluvium, the largest delta in Earth's history was formed, stretching over 600,000 square miles, an area comparable to the size of Alaska. This delta became the lifeblood of the New World, the fuel for evolution, and at the same time a natural monument to the vagaries of time. Under the influence of these waters, the land came to life. Coniferous thickets began to cover the land, turning it into an oasis of life. Giants repopulate the green forests, and for the first time since the Permian extinction, the planet was again covered with forests where giants lived. This period became a symbol of restoration and evolution, and Pangaea became the scene of a grand rebirth. 210 million years ago, in the very heart of a deeply transformed nature, an amazing evolutionary revolution took place. Many ancient reptiles, trapped in a changing landscape, were unable to survive in the new conditions. However, among them there was a group that found a way out of difficulties, adapting to the changes so successfully that they soon established their dominance in the world. The young of this group were born, like other reptiles, hatching from eggs. Their bodies were covered with scaly skin, and from the very beginning they had to fend for themselves. However, already at the stage of birth, differences became noticeable that made them unique. Their efficient breathing system pumped blood through their lungs, allowing them to run without stopping to catch their breath. The legs of these reptiles were located at the bottom of the body, which allowed them to move vertically. This feature gave them an advantage, turning tiny babies into adults that were 50 times larger. These giants became part of the reptilian family tree, occupying their own unique branch of evolution. Among the first giants, Plateosaurus stood out, capable of easily reaching food at high altitudes. Their stomachs were excellent at digesting tough pine needles, providing them with a unique source of nutrition. Due to their enormous size, they were able to maintain a higher body temperature, which opened up new opportunities for activity both day and night. This formula for success marked the beginning of a new era in which giants ruled the world, leaving their mark on the genetic history of the planet. In the darkness of the Jurassic period, some 152 million years ago, the stage was set for a great upheaval in the animal kingdom. A new dynasty was rising on the horizon, poised for a dominance that would remain in the history of the planet for over 150 million years. This was the beginning of the age of dinosaurs, powerful and majestic creatures that became one of the most legendary inhabitants of the Earth. The appearance of dinosaurs marked a new era on the planet, where they became the rulers of land and sky. Their dominance was a great test for other life forms, and only the fittest and hardiest could survive in this new world. Dinosaurs produced incredible species, including the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, the fearsome Triceratops, and the majestic Brachiosaurus. These creatures became part of a dynamic and complex ecosystem, creating food chains that shaped life on the planet. Dinosaurs, with their diversity and impressive size, became the inspiration for many legends and myths that have survived for many years and have survived to this day. Their strength and grace, their mystery and greatness, left an indelible mark on the history of the Earth. The era of dinosaurs brought not only unique species, but also winning survival strategies, shaping the face of the planet over many millions of years. It was a time of great change and challenge, when nature experienced the power of evolution in the most exciting ways. Welcome to the age of the dinosaurs, where the earth trembled under their mighty paws and the skies filled with their majestic wings, creating the world that every paleontologist and ancient adventurer dreams of. Thank you for watching our episode. Give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And also press the bell so you don't miss new and interesting videos from the Real Unreal channel.